Hello and thank you for joining the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the program, respite in sight over strike as resident doctors, federal government return to negotiating table. And later on the show, Naira crashes in parallel markets to 570 Naira to $1 as its free fall continues. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Tunde Abaton. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Let's begin with some cherry news. After months of controversy, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has approved the appointment of Professor Ibiyemi Olatunji Bello as the ninth substantive Vice Chancellor of the Lagos State University, LASU. A professor of physiology, Mrs. Olatunji Bello, had served as acting Vice Chancellor of the institution before her appointment. Babajide, nice one there.
Yes.
Former Deputy Vice Chancellor. Two-time Deputy Vice Chancellor under the Vice Chancellor, this Professor of Physiology. She has proven over and over again, and she became the acting Vice Chancellor of that particular institution. But there was this controversy before the selection process.
Well, I'm glad that this matter has been put to rest. We are a nation of one day, one controversy. So I'm not interested in the controversy. I'm focused on the future. I was at LASU about 3-4 weeks ago when the Association of National Association of Linguistics invited me to receive an award, and I can say that it still retains everything that made it the state university of choice in our country. You know, LASU has a tremendous history. Which used to have the best law faculty in our country in the 80s and the 90s. So I want to believe that Professor Ibiyemi Olatunji Bello will give her best and push the university to higher heights, because that is all that we want to see. She was described by a writer as a woman of impeccable originality as a scholar, with significant contribution to the body of knowledge. And when I was doing some research about her background, I discovered that she was a research fellow at the University of Texas, San Antonio. She was poached from the medical college,
yes.
You know,
Idiaraba,
to
she went
come and help them out. And she became the first professor of physiology at LASU. You know, she also has a history of making history. She rose through the ranks, became assistant lecturer 1988 to 1991, became associate professor in 2005, and that was the post, and then became Deputy Vice Chancellor 2 times during the time of the Vice Chancellor Latif Hussaini. And this particular position was advertised twice on the national dailies, on Friday, July 30, and Friday, the 13th of August, 2021. You know, I thought at a point that she will even get it, because there was she was part of the people who contested for the thing the very first time. So, but that whole exercise was scrapped, and they had to start again. And now the Committee of Council and the Senate of the University have chosen her as
part of the sentiment brought up in the run up to this thing, build up to this thing, that she's from Owo in Ondo State, and even for the fact that our mother is even from Lagos State here, but her father is from Owo in Ondo State. But she's married to a Lagosian. She's married to.
Ayo. It's unfortunate that our country has become what it is. The most famous vice chancellor in Uniben's history is Adamu Beki. Adamu Beki is from northern Nigeria. It's Hausa Fulani. In those days, core northerners used to be VC of schools in southern Nigeria. Abi, Baba?
Yes, sir, yes.
You know, Kweku Adadevo, who was VC, was he a Lagosian?
Even that one was even Ghanaian.
The name, you will see this origin.
He's not even from Nigeria.
No, it's even possible to be a Ghanaian name.
Oh, really?
It's possible to be a Ghanaian name. But we are saying that, look, in the past, what I'm just trying to say, and we've had even people from the East become VC of Unilag here. From the East. But these days, people will say,
Professor Eninjoku.
Yes, from the East. These days, people will say, no, he has to be from our own area. We've seen state universities pick people from far away to even become their VC. Once you are good enough, they will allow you to do it. You cannot now say because somebody who is Lagosians by marriage, you can't say that person is not qualified for this kind of job. You can't say. That is why we have a problem. Let's always push aside some of these things that divide us and reach out for the best. When we reach out for the best will do their best for us, and everyone will be happy.
Professor Olatunji Bello, from the pedigree, from what you've read about her.
Well, I think for us, like he said, what made Nigeria great in the 70s and 80s was adherence to the principle of merit in any way we find yourself. He has mentioned a lot of people who have made names, University of Ife to University of Ibadan to University of Lagos. There was a time there was a controversy as to, even Professor Chike Obi, was it not a former professor? So I think the moment, you see, in anything that we do in life, either in private life, either in your business, either in national life, the moment we push merit to the background, you cannot make it. It is not a course, it is an order of history. And what made Nigeria, what made the University of Ibadan to be thick in those days was that University of Ibadan can admit anybody from anywhere. And in the 70s, people used to come from the Middle East because University of Ibadan is regarded as a center of LSL. Yes. Who are those who made University of Ibadan? They are not necessarily Yoruba people. Who are those who made University of Lagos? They are not necessarily Yoruba people. And secondly, I'd like to make a correction. When you look at her CV, she can claim to be a Lagosian by all standards. Why? She had her primary. She was born in Lagos.
Yes.
She had her primary school, Anglican primary school in Surulere. She had her secondary school in Lagos.
Methodist
she went to University of Ibadan.
Her father is even Lagosian.
She has been in the system in Lagos since 1988, which means she has spent 33 years in the service of Lagos State University. Besides that, if it had been a civil servant, maybe she would have retired now, because the new law now favors a professor reaching the age of 70. So when you look at her antecedents and the fact that she has gone through the mill in the Lagos State University, she has gone through the mill, she's 57. Yeah, she has gone through the mill, she has rose through the ranks. So definitely she will know Lagos State like the back of her hand. And anybody that must put LASU where it belonged in the 80s and 90s, it has to be somebody who knows the history of LASU, who has grown through LASU. Yes, she may not necessarily be the best, but definitely in a race, somebody will come out top. Yes. Either in a 100-meter race, either with the trust of the hand, or with the trust of the hand.
She came out top.
Yeah. So definitely somebody must come out in the race. And let us look at, like I said,
by wide margin.
Let us look at merit. Look, when Nigeria was Nigeria, when you assemble 11 footballers on the field, if 8 of them are from Edo State, by the time you emerge victorious, they won't say that people from Edo State are the winner. But the glory goes to Nigeria. So let us give her the benefit that she can perform. And because she has gone through the mill, I believe, like many other people who contested with her, she knows the problem of LASU, and she's in a position to position and to reposition LASU to achieve greater height. Like he said,
Finally on this,
Yes.
it's a call to duty. This is challenging. It's a
Yes.
very big school, and LASU must rise
It's a
again.
big school with a tremendous tradition. It's a school that we are proud of, and she should just she should live up to expectation. We've had women as vice chancellor, so she has entered an exclusive club. You know, it was
The likes of,
Grace Alele
Alele
Williams
Williams.
that set the ball rolling as VC of Uniben. We've had Jade Sola Akonde from that same university. So she's in an exclusive club now as a woman heading a tertiary institution in our country, and I'm sure that she will rise to the occasion.
I think that people should push your sentiments to the background.
No,
Give her
it's done and dusted.
Give her a chance
The
to-
governor of Lagos
yes.
State, it has been ratified, and the governor of Lagos, we want to say congratulations to the new vice
BME.
chancellor, Mrs. Olatunji Bello, a professor of physiology, and want to say congratulations by extension to her husband, that's the commissioner for environment in Lagos State, one time secretary to the government of Lagos State, that's Mr. Olatunji Bello. Jide?
Yeah, congrats once again,
TB.
Professor BME Tunji Bello. And as we always say here, the reward for hard work is more work. But we want Nigerians to remember your time as one of unqualified success. So we wish you the best and
Godspeed.
Godspeed.
All right, we move. Like battle-weary combatants, the National Association of Resident Doctors and the federal government have agreed to return to the negotiation table. Now, to address contending issues responsible for almost 2 months old strike. Now, counsel to the federal government, Tochukwu Maduka, had informed the courts of an application for contempt proceedings against leadership of the associations for failing to obey an ex parte order to return to work. While that of the striking doctors, Femi Falana, questioned the jurisdiction of the courts to hear the matter, both parties subsequently reached a truce as Justice Bashir Akali rose to rule on the contending issue. Oh, Jide, we are counting down. I foresee this thing coming through negotiation, and they are going to go back to the drawing board, and both parties will have to reach a kind of amicable resolution,
Yes, and I think
not
that
through the judiciary.
I think that every effort to intimidate the resident doctors have failed. You threatened them with no work, no pay rule. They still didn't go back to work. You got an injunction, a court injunction. They refused to listen. Then you've got to ask yourself, how do we go on like this? Because it makes no sense to go on like this at a time when people are dying. I was reading that 25 persons died in Lagos due to this new wave of COVID-19. And that's at a time when resident doctors, who constitute the majority of doctors in our country, are on strike. So what government needs to do is to find a way to end this strike. If you agreed that hazard allowance, which was last increased in 1991, is too small at 5,000, and you agree that, okay, we are going to increase it to 10% or so, or that is it. I can't remember the percentage of basic salary, which is substantially higher than what they take now. Why don't we even start with that? Sometimes you have a list of demands, the ones that you can implement. Why don't you start implementing those ones immediately? If you start implementing those ones immediately, that will send a clear signal to the striking doctors that you mean well. you will be sending a signal to them that yes, whatever you are doing it in good faith, that other demands will be met in due course. But to refuse to implement decisions that you agreed with them, that decisions that were reached between you and them, it's a two-way thing. They are doctors, they are on strike. You negotiated with them. There were certain decisions reached before they agreed to say, okay, we are no longer going on strike. We are going back to work. Since April, you have not implemented all of those agreements that you reached with them. Of course, their blood will boil. Of course, they will get angry. Of course, they will feel that you can't be trusted. So let government even start from somewhere. You say, okay, of all these demands, we can do this now. Many people are worried about state universities not paying doctors. You can have a situation in which doctors are being owed 9 months. Some of these state universities, I don't know what their governors are doing. You are setting up state universities that you can't fund. And part of the evidence of your inability to fund these state universities is that even doctors in the teaching hospitals of those state universities, you can't pay them regularly. I mean, how do you owe doctors?
Two universities, 3 universities.
Yes, they keep setting up universities for fun. I don't understand. One of the demands that even ASUU is making is that, look, the proliferation of state universities should be addressed. But we are not seeing anything.
Only this week at the National Assembly to pass the law for the establishment of 2 more federal universities of science.
2 federal universities in all the state of
no, because you see, the problem is every lawmaker imagines that if he does not come up with something of that nature, that the people will not agree that it's working.
To do anything.
But there are many things you can do for your people beyond setting up universities. There are many things you can do. That is the point that we are making. You can't be making promises. Whenever these people go on strike, you call them to a round table, agreement will be reached, memorandum of action will be signed, and no action will be taken on the memorandum of action. And you had all these months to do something about those demands since April, when they decided to go back to work. Since April, is April to September not long enough to do something? We waited for them until they now decided to go on strike again. My own problem is agreeing to do certain things and then refusing to do it. If the government is broke, they should be able to say, look, gentlemen, this one we can't do. And that is what the Senate president said. He said, you keep signing agreement that you know you are incapable of meeting. Talk to them. Look, we are all Nigerians. Gentlemen, we can do this. This is how far we can go. We can't get to this point. The country is broke at this time. Why don't we come to this middle point? Please bear with us. We can do this. This one we can't do. That way, everyone knows where you stand. But you will sign that you are going to do it, and then everybody will wait 6 months after you are refusing to do anything until they go on strike. It's the same thing that we are facing with ASUU.
Because when you look at going on strike at the timing, we have a pandemic that we're battling with, and the number of deaths we record, we don't keep data, it's not quantifiable. But you can be sure that these people, that the effects of the strike would have been very, very devastating.
Well, I think the problem that is wrong with us is that at all vistas of governance in Nigeria, I think there's no sincerity from the local government to the state government to the federal government. Look, in 2012, the ASUU went on strike for 9 months. They were striking because the agreement that was reached in 2009 they were yet to implement it. 2009, you sign an agreement, and before an agreement is signed, before you put pen to paper, there must have been consultation, there must have been negotiations, and there must have been concessions. When you put all these things together, you have a budget. You have what Nigeria is making per day. We know what we can afford, like Jide said. But we put on pen to paper to appear as if we have settled with them. At the end of the day, we only look at the exodus of Nigerian doctors to Saudi Arabia, a country that was sending its top personnel to University of Ibadan in the 70s and 80s. Now Nigeria is now looked upon. Nigeria now go to West African countries that are not up to state governments in Nigeria to do. So I think government has to show enough sincerity. We have to weigh our options very well. Do we decide to fund education very well? Because the university system, the medical doctors are a function of the universities. If a university admits 100 students, they know that at the end of the day, only 10 will graduate. Why not make sure that those 10 that end up being medical doctors, they are properly taken care of? I think government in Nigeria has to be serious, has to be sincere, because it is about insincerity. Look, there's a tripartite party, the NAD, the Federal Minister of Labour, Federal Minister of Health. Those three organs, they should be able to be bold enough to tell the federal government, this is how far we can go, based on the size. The Labour came out, who happens to be a medical doctor, to negotiate on behalf of the federal government. But I want to believe that he has negotiated based on the facts of the budget that was given to the Minister of Health to do. So why can't we say this is what we can afford? Now, we're in the midst of a pandemic. These people, they will continue to strike again. And Nigeria is a country in which we have serious security issues all over the country. So we cannot tackle all those things. Let us sit down and look at our problem. Because the fundamental thing is that our government is insincere. Let us learn to keep agreement. When we put pen on paper, this is the only country in the world that we know that. ASUU people, look at them now. Last year, they were on strike for 9 months. We called them back. As I am talking to you now, the government is here to implement what they agree to do. So I think in totality, our problem is insincerity at all levels of government. Let government be sincere and come out to say, and let government stop. There must be a moratorium on the establishment of university all over Nigeria. I think we cannot fund most of the things we are bound upon. We should play less of politics,
yes,
and do what is right, by especially university education. Yesterday, the National Assembly passed laws.
Why is it difficult to get all this?
That's what one lecturer is telling me. And I said, the new rage is the passing of bills to set up federal universities of medicine. Of medicine. You know, horror, and he called it horror of horrors. We can't fund these universities. We just can't fund them. And we continue to just churn them out, because we want to please people.
The finances that will be required to set up a college of medicine is not something that
just like most of the states wanted to set up airports that they cannot even maintain. They cannot even maintain the runway of the airport.
The issue is, are those airports profitable? In Nigeria, I don't think we have more than 4 airports that are profitable.
That are viable.
You can't make money from them.
Probably Lagos, Kano, and Port Harcourt.
Lagos and Port Harcourt, you know, Abuja.
Those are the 4 routes that are viable in Nigeria.
Even Kano now is suspect. It's not like before. When KLM and all the big foreign airlines used to land in Kano. That's no longer the case. It's no longer the case. Swiss Air.
They still go on pilgrimage now.
Because there was a time they were even fighting for Basa agreement that they can land in 2 or 3 airports in Nigeria. But now it's only Lagos or Abuja they are interested.
Just about 4 are not viable. Just about 4 airlines. So why airports are viable. Yet, Osun, they want an airport.
Ogun State
wants a cargo airport.
84 billion to fund the airport.
Ekiti, they are proceeding with their airport. All of these communities, states are not far apart. You know?
Look at Ogun State that 60% of rural roads in Ogun State, they cannot do it.
They can't fix their roads. Look at Akute.
To do airport in
It is individuals who are building roads now.
Yes, now in my community.
They are fixing roads by themselves in Ogun State. The worst roads in Nigeria are in Ogun State. I can defend it.
The border with Lagos.
The worst in Nigeria are in Ogun State.
Did you see that Songo road?
Songo road is not as bad as Lambe road. Try it. Try it.
Are you kidding me?
Yes,
people are driving on Songo road. Some parts of Lambe road you can't put your car.
You cannot put your car.
If you don't believe, let us try it. You will not even see. Already it's like a lake on the road.
Everywhere. That 30,
the worst roads in this country are in Ogun State.
5 kilometers between Ijoko and
you want people to pay taxes, you take money from them, you can't help them. They help themselves, they fix roads by themselves. You are not going to come to their aid.
Songo, Ota.
There are no roads.
Do you know the irony of it in Nigeria? Those states to send VIO out to go and inspect vehicles, and the roads are not vehicle worthy. And you are asking them to bring roadworthy vehicles on the road, and the roads are not vehicle worthy. You
know what they do now? You know what they do in Lambe area?
Yes.
Lambe area.
Yes.
People they will enter inside communities to sidetrack the waterlogged road. Now go and come out somewhere else.
The saving grace is Akinwumi Ambodi's road. Those 43 roads that they built, and when going to AIT, Alagbado and everything, they built like 47 roads there. So people will bypass that Songo Ota road, that toll gate.
Yes.
If you
that
live
toll gate.
They are bypassing.
If you live along Alambe
roads
and you are going to Songo, the best thing you can do is that find your way to crossing. When you get to crossing, take Marua to toll gate. But all the roads are built by Lagos State government. What I'm trying to tell you that all those roads are handed.
Okay, we have Aliu from Kano.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Aliu. Thank you for staying with us.
Yes, I'm Aliu, not from Kano, from Abuja.
Oh.
Yes, I want to contribute on the striking doctors, that's the resident doctors.
All right.
Yeah, you see, the issue with the strike of the resident doctors is a very compounded issue, especially when you look at the general analysis of the health sector. For example, the issue of the hazard. It was not the resident doctors that are in charge of the negotiation. It was the enemy, that is the consultant. And part of their own issues is that most of the issues they were agitating, they are mostly against the state government. And the reason why this hazard is not implemented is not because the government are not serious, but the negotiation between Johesu and the enemy, they were not able to reach a consensus. But the government are ever ready to pay this money, because I am in Abuja, I work in a hospital, and I know the negotiation that has been going on. But the effort that the government is making is that they have separated the negotiation. Enemy to meet with the government separate and the Johesu to meet with the government separate. And the issue of the resident doctor is a very complicated issue, because if they didn't get it right now, they won't get it right another time. And that is the reason why they are insisting and not coming back despite court order.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aliu from Abuja. We'll take this break. When we come back, we'll discuss more. It's Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. It's still Journalist Hangout reaching you from TVC News here in Lagos, Nigeria. And ultimately, when we are looking at what this is going to be a problem that will permeate governments, we sometimes sit to negotiate with these associations and bodies, and you have a representative of Ministry of Finance, you have all the people involved, right? This negotiation, and they'll sign this agreement, and at the end of the day, to now implement it, the bottlenecks, the repetition that will be involved. I don't know, why is it always like this?
I don't know why we get everybody on board, all the stakeholders. They will sit down, we will say, okay, this is the agreement that we have reached. An individual's role is to ensure cash backing for the decision that is reached.
To make sure.
Yet, at the end of the day, they won't release money until these guys are threatening another strike. It just shows to me that we are behaving like all of this, that we can't run public enterprises anymore. We can't run the universities. We can't run the health sector.
You should say Nigeria.
The health sector in Nigeria is one of the worst in the world.
Now.
The countries that we rank higher than are countries like Somalia, countries like
So good enough.
Chad,
Or maybe Northern Sudan.
I saw, I think it was an assessment that was done about 5 years ago, where I saw our country. I don't want to say it here. Everyone can see that we are not funding that sector enough, and we are not taking the right decisions. These guys asking for this, asking for that. Infrastructure is a big problem until when one of your relations needs Medicare. That is when you know the state of
the reality.
Yes, the state
of the
public health system in our country. Where you will be going from one place to another, you can't find beds.
And
Even
pharmacy,
to get
you can't find
consultants,
drugs.
to get experts and consultants, there are some areas in medicine in Nigeria that you have 11 for a country of 200 million people, and they say you have 11 consultants. In this year, about 500, in average per year, 500 migrate out of Nigeria, and those 500 they are not dollars. They are probably the best.
Nobody wants to stay.
Nobody wants to
It
stay
is
now.
this. Okay, now you have a sector where they've been on strike for like 2 months, and nobody thinks that it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
The president told them the other day, go back to work. They can't simply go back to work.
Somebody was even saying it that
Address the issues.
he wished that the likes of Nupeng and Pengasin can just join solidarity strike with this. Maybe federal government will not just sit down, because when they affect the oil money, when it comes to oil, when it comes to the jugular, yes,
you see
that they'll be able to sit down.
Pengasin must not even go on strike.
In Nigeria,
We can sit tolerate no pen strike.
The problem we have in Nigeria is that
Go
back to the last 6 months. Whenever there's a FEC meeting, the only thing you will hear at the end of the meeting is a contract.
Award of contract.
Award of contract. Is that the only thing we are discussing in Nigeria after award contract? Go back to the last 6 months. The only thing we have
if you award those contracts and those contracts are implemented and everything, we won't be having this kind of
infrastructure. They will tell you that the money was not budgeted, captured in the next budget. Lagos Abeokuta Road was approved 2 years ago with 22 billion naira. Now the minister has to do reconstruction of that road, 22 billion naira. It was approved for 2019. Now this is 2021. They now say that they are looking for Sukuk bond to do that road, which means it was not captured in the budget, but it was approved by FEC 2 years ago.
But you know, one of the biggest problems we have is that even for the budget, the rate of implementation is always low, because sometimes it is in the third quarter that funds will be released.
For that
so you will see that even the length,
in the last 5 years,
the length of time,
50%.
the length of time that it takes to complete a contract is usually extended in our case, because when you don't release money on time, you wait for like 7 months before money comes in. So what is the thing?
Ololade from Kwara State is calling us.
Yes, gentlemen, well done.
Thank you for staying with us.
So I'm calling from Ilorin, Kwara State. So I want to speak regarding to the borrowing of the money that our government is trying to borrow again. To me,
that is not happening.
A tradition now.
No, I won't allow you to speak. It's not what we are talking about here. Don't worry.
On the day we discuss it, you can come
We are not discussing about
I know that.
Okay.
Or you can join us.
Very soon we will discuss it.
Discuss that, please.
Don't be annoyed.
We cannot discuss about security.
No, you can't talk about security. We're not discussing security.
You ask questions about what we are discussing.
Yes, resident doctors.
Please let me know, because I'm not with the TV, so that's why I've been trying
to. Doctors are still on strike, but they are saying they want to go back now to negotiation now.
Well, as regards to the doctor strike, I will call on the federal government to please, as a matter of safety of human beings' life, they should always try to honor their own part in agreement. Because I notice whenever they are signing industrial arrest, they used to claim that even agreement signed in year 2000 so has not been followed by the government, has not been honored by the government. So I will advise the government so that it should not look as if, because they are not patronizing the hospitals in Nigeria, they are always involved in medical tourism. They should please, as a matter of honor, try to always make sure that they don't allow the medical people to go on strike. No, government cannot. To them too, I want to advise them. Government cannot do everything.
Thank you.
But
Thank you for your contribution, and thank you for that. I don't know. Somebody's not with his monitor, not with his TV set. It's still found time to still call us to contribute.
Because to even get through to us is not easy.
I'm telling you.
So he didn't want to waste that opportunity. I understand.
So it was going around. So I think ultimately we know that in the next 48 hours or so we should be hearing from these guys, and they should go back to work, and the government should honor the agreement.
And let's hope that that's exactly the case, because it was the lawyer that dropped this hint in court. So we hope that they will go back to negotiation, and we hope that government will do something. ASUU has been telling Nigerians now that if they go on strike, blame the government. Blame the government.
The agreement that they signed years ago, they have not even.
I said they set up the Musa Alin Jibrin committee to review the earlier
agreement that was signed.
Yes. Now Musa Alin Jibrin has turned in his report. They are refusing to take action on that report. That's what is even making ASUU very angry. Because once you don't implement Musa Alin Jibrin's report, that means that review is a waste of time. You are not ready for any review.
Before Dr. Chris Ngige will start saying no work, no pay. You must go back to work. They are now giving you notice now till December. They're giving you notice till December. And finally, the Nigerian currency, Naira, continues its free fall. The latest drop in its value is due to some Nigerians and corporate entities opting to save their fortunes in dollars as a preferred store of value. As such, the Naira now exchanges for, wait for this, 565 Naira or 567 Naira to a dollar, raising fears that it may exchange for 1,000 Naira to a dollar before the end of this year. Disaster.
It's not a funny. It's not a funny story at all.
You know, when this current CBN governor got to the office, we met it at 165.
Yes,
so that should be a measure to Mr. Emefiele. From 165, look at where we are today.
And you don't seem to have a solution.
It's about 350% increase now.
Yes, you don't seem to have a solution. You see, sometimes when we talk about these things, people. It's not simply the president that we are even talking about, because a president appoints the people to work with him. Now, if they don't deliver, you just need to show them the door. It's as simple as that. I've said it repeatedly that the president doesn't appear to give his appointees KPI, key performance index. Because if you sit, if the president were to give Emefiele KPI now, and he reviews his KPI from time to time, as it is done elsewhere. He has been bank MD now.
Yes, sir. UBA also?
No, Zenith.
Okay.
So he knows what it is like. Now, if he were to sit in front of the president and say, "Oh, how now? Welcome. I want to do your KPI now," and you move from item 1 to item 7, how are you going to score him? How are you going to score him? You start from the value of our currency, the way he has managed the value of our currency. What will you score him there? Because before our eyes, this currency has depreciated to a record level
of almost 400%.
Somebody's talking about
under 6 years
before the end of the year.
Yes.
What are we doing? You come out with policies, your methods are not working. Ideally, you should have resigned. But this is Nigeria. To get people to resign from work, even when they are not performing, is extremely difficult.
It seldom happens in Nigeria. And the leadership
for Nigerians to begin, a new set of Nigerians will actually begin to work this country before we see a situation in which a Nigerian, convinced in his heart that he has failed, will take the decision to say, "Gentlemen,
I bow out.
No more.
It's time to go home."
Yes. A boxer
That's what
when you are when it's being pounded by the opponent, he gets a point. He says, "Look, I'm going." Roberto Duran was fighting, and he said, "No más, no more." That's what it means in Spanish. No más, no more. He said he's not interested anymore. Yes, now. So, in this case, your methods are not working. You say, okay, you've taken this decision. We backed you. You said you were going to stop the BDCs, that the BDCs, yes, they were to blame. We supported you.
And yes, 3 weeks after.
Now, 3 weeks after, the free fall. So, what are we talking about?
Yes. This same Emefiele, there was a time, at least, for those people that, you know, we use dollar constantly, as in, it was hovering between 350 and 360. It for like, you know, some years.
Well, I think basically whenever any other.
So how when you look at to stabilize it, and
when you look at Nigeria's finances, I think it's consistency of policy matters. If you say that it has come to 365, and suddenly something happens, and the value that our oil export has not reduced. The value of the oil in the international market, because these are the benchmark you use, has gone to 60. It's now hovering between $65 and $70. Naturally, that is the 90% of the money we make. Then you expect that there will be enough dollar to fund this particular thing. But at this particular point in time, you also sack about the Bureau de Change operator. You said that they are corrupt. Now, it is that particular point in time that the value of the naira keep on falling down, yes, which means there is something inherently wrong with the system that the central bank governor is using, or there are some principalities or powers within the financial sectors are so powerful enough as to undermine the policies of the Central Bank of Nigeria. If they are so powerful or too powerful than the Central Bank of Nigeria, the best thing for the governor to do is to throw in the towel and go and tell the president that at this point in time, we have some powers that are more powerful than me. I cannot maintain Nigeria.
My best is not good enough. It doesn't even need a long story. It doesn't need a long story. Mr. President, thank you for giving me the opportunity. You came in, you retained me, but my best has not been good enough. I've let my countrymen and women down. I want to go.
Can't we just make an exception in this country? Can't we have some people that will make an exception?
What is not easy there?
What is not easy? Can't we make an exception in this country?
You don't have the blood running in your...
No, but there are some Nigerians who will throw in the towel. There are some Nigerians. We still have some principled Nigerians. It's just that it is not really common.
It's not common.
But there are people who will still get to a system, and when they see that this system is not working for them, they will even walk up to the boss and say, "Oga, I can't continue." But you know, there's something that I've been saying here. And I'm sure Nigerians who watch me a lot will remember. I said this hunger for the dollar.
That's what
I'm about to say. Appetite for the dollar.
Some Nigerians are corporate entities. Right now,
I'm going somewhere. I'm saying that this dollar, the hunger for the dollar, is not a function of demand, supply, or even production. It's just is one of the effects of the corruption within our system. I've said it many times that people collect bribes in naira. Huge chunk of this in naira, they now want to store it in dollar form so that it can retain the value. They are the ones who are, if you read the Daily Trust story today, that's what they are saying, that some Nigerians, they are stockpiling dollars. They bribe them with hefty sums of money in naira. They now quickly go and convert it to dollars so that they can keep
bribe delegates.
Dollars now, yes. Because they are
stockpiling the thing. The naira that they've been bribed, they are converting that naira to dollars.
And that is
they will always have demand for the dollar. This is not, if we can fix corruption, honestly, there are some drastic steps that the president can take. This nonsense will stop. People changing the currency, for example.
I have Okudili. Thank you for joining us, Okudili.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, I want to ask. There's a question I want to ask. Most times, we are quick to talk about Emefiele. Yes, I know he's not doing well. But can I ask, do we have a finance minister? That's just the question I want to ask. Because for the first time,
thank you.
This is the first time I've seen a finance minister that is anonymous. Don't we have a finance minister?
You are right.
Yes.
But you know, they have their different roles. If we are talking about how we are piling on debts like a drunken sailor.
In Nigeria.
We are going to talk about the Minister of Finance,
who said we are going to see borrow more.
But in terms of our monetary policy, that is the man that is in charge. You see him when he was going to take that big decision against the BDCs. It wasn't the finance minister that took the decision. He was the one who addressed us to say, look, we are going to do this. Like for a few days, we thought that thing was working. Now we are being told that SMEs, a lot of them go to the BDCs. They are the ones that provide them with dollars.
And we should not make any attempt to even reduce this thing to...
Even the bankers that he is pinning his hope on, a lot of them are crooked. They are doing dirty deals. They have their own brood exchange operators that they go and give the thing to. I said this before that, look, the gap between the official rate and the parallel rate is too wide. If we close the gap, the incentive to simply go and sell dollar that you got through official means, the incentive will simply disappear.
Abato,
that's what we should do.
In this same country, people are collecting house rent in dollars on the island.
Yes.
This same country in Abuja.
Yes. Not only in Abuja, in Lagos. The moment you get your office, it's dollars.
So not even in Abuja.
You can't try it in another country. You can't try it in another country.
If you go to some VIP clubs, people spend dollars.
Because number one,
it's an acceptable.
Number one, nobody has.
It's a legal tender.
Nobody has confidence in the Nigerian system. Nobody. I doubt you whether there's a patriotic Nigerian again. Because if people get money in bribe and they now convert it into dollars or pound sterling, it means you don't have confidence in the system through which you made that particular money. So when you get your money in Nigeria to build high-rise,
somebody who made money through crooked means.
You make money in Ikoyi and you build house in Ikoyi.
No, just to retain the value.
You build house in Ikoyi or Victoria Land and you build it in Nigeria and you are collecting dollar for that particular house. The sand that you got from Ogun State and the cement you got from Dagote, did you get it through dollars? So the point is that there's no Nigerian that is sincere, and unpatriotism is high rise because people don't believe in the system. Everybody believes that.
The way we even enforce our laws. Okay. If you go to South Africa, you can't use the dollar like that. The places where you can spend the dollar is when you go to the duty-free shops, maybe the airport. You can't use the dollar or
outside.
the
But do you not even know that
you cannot even exchange money. You must go to a bureau de change, official one.
Yes.
They will take your passport and then you change the money.
Emeka from Abuja.
Good evening, Babajide.
Good evening, my brother.
My brother, what I want to say is, honestly, this dollar of the team, honestly, is very, very surprising to all of us. Honestly.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that this central bank governor, I don't know whether Buhari really understand that it's good luck that brought that man home. It's good luck that brought that man home to that CBN.
That's true.
That's number one. Number two, this Minister of Finance, honestly, is not trying. Because when Okonjo-Iweala was there, I remember the time the dollar went to almost 200, but she keep it at that 180, 190. She can do something. Two of them, it's not about the Netherlands or the only central bank governor. If she, the policies they are doing is not good, she can contribute. Honestly, the way this is going, honestly, for example, if time is not taking this dollar,
people are saying 1,000.
I'm not sure.
God forbid. That's not a good prediction.
People saying God forbid, but you can see the signs. The signs are there.
1,000 naira.
If you don't, if what is the strategy to arrest?
To address it, to stop it from
What
going.
is the strategy? We did 520 and we went back to our 370. If you remember that time.
Are we earning as much as that time now? Because also dependent on your level of production and how much dollars you are earning. When you have enough, when you earn enough, there won't be pressure.
You can imagine the kind of
we are taking loans all over the place.
Parents that are paying school fees in dollars outside the country. If a dollar is exchanging for 1,000 naira, how do you want them to cope?
It is the average Nigerian.
Let's even leave those who are abroad, who are going to school abroad. A lot of the things we eat
in Nigeria
and the things that we use to produce what we eat are imported. Go to some of those superstores and see the prices of things.
You're talking about sardines?
Bread.
But you don't need-
When they
but
were talking
bread
about
is
bread, that price of bread has gone up astronomically. It's because some of the condiments that you
ingredients
need,
made for bread,
they are imported. Butter and the rest of them. So that food, it's this dollar high price of high rate of exchange is also affecting even food prices in our country.
You know that
It's affecting virtually everything.
master bakers now find it extremely difficult to even be in business.
Yes,
Because
some have folded up already.
if they produce bread, you will buy it.
Do you know how much they are selling cars now? The cars, prices of cars have gone up because they are imported. And even what's it called, buses here that people, the commuters use.
They cannot replace them because there's no money.
The spares, spare parts are so high now because of those things are imported. You don't make those spare parts by yourself.
Thank you.
So it's affecting the ordinary man in various ways.
Tunde Abatta, thank you for your contribution. Thank you. And BQ, thank you for your contribution. And that's all on Journalist Hangout today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch the pre-broadcast today at 11 p.m. and don't forget to join us on Sunday, Journalist Hangout on Sunday from 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. on DSTV 418, GoTV 45. Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Bye for now and see you Sunday.